Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new live episode of the Hot Mic, coming to you at 12 p.m. PT noon here on the West Coast amidst a massive writer's strike happening here in the city of Los Angeles. Well, there in the city of Los Angeles, but I am the outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by the Sneider, who's got some stuff to say on this. Jeff Sneider, how are you, Jeff?
Hey, Johnny boy, I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right.
What's wrong? What's going on?
No, I'm just, it's only, what is it, day 4 of this, day 3 of the strike, basically? Like, I'm already exhausted. But you know what? I'm not half as exhausted as the writers who are out there on these picket lines. I mean, I did like an hour and a half yesterday.
Nice. But
there are people who have been out there 8 hours a day, just walking back and forth, getting 20,000 steps in. So my hat's off to them.
Absolutely. I was in LA yesterday shooting a Rotten Tomatoes episode. I thought I had a little bit of time, a little bit of window to go down to the Warner Brothers lot and walk in front of the Warner Brothers lot out of solidarity, but unfortunately scheduling and timing couldn't quite make it up. But if the strike goes on a little bit longer, I'm absolutely going to take a day and go up there and walk out of solidarity, obviously as a member of SAG myself. So just incredible stuff here, but we're definitely going to talk about it because it's a lot of back and forth, and the exhaustion I think Jeff's talking about is just the shock from the response of the studios here. And it feels like this is going to be dragging on for quite some time. And we'll get into the specifics of it all here as we go along, because obviously this affects everybody from the people who are making shows to those of us who are reporting news or talking about the movies and shows that are happening as I do. It affects everybody all the way down the chain. So we're definitely going to get into all of it. Thanks to so much of you who are joining us live already. Almost 200 you joining us live right off the bat here in this lunchtime episode of the Hot Mic. And we're also going to talk about that fantastic forecasting, get into some of the AI issues involved with the writer's strike as well. Pedro Pascal in talks for Gladiator 2, Paul Mescal, all those kinds of stuff happening here. Taika Waititi's next movie. We're going to get into all of it, maybe even throw in a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 non-spoiler review here somewhere near the end of the show. But Jeff, and also the StreamLabs and SuperChats are open, ladies and gentlemen. So send in your love, send in your support, send it early. Already 3 StreamLabs have come through, so do it now. It's pinned in the chat. It's in the description of the video, and it's right above Jeff's head if you're looking for the address. Jeff, where do you want to start first, brother man? What are you feeling?
Oh boy, I mean, we got to talk about this strike. I have
All right, let's jump into it.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about the strike. I'm waiting for my washing machine to stop clanging around. It's been interesting because I've been, on the optimistic side.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, and I'm normally the pessimistic one, right? People are like, why is this guy, for the first time ever being optimistic about something? I mean, listen, maybe I'm dead wrong, but I just because now I'm hearing estimates like, oh, people think this could go on for 6 months. Like, we really think this is going to last until Halloween and Thanksgiving, coming out of like a pandemic? I just can't believe right after restarting the industry and getting this town back up on its feet that the studios would just let it collapse all over again. And I know that they have their own ulterior motives here, which we're going to get into. Right. I mean, this is going to be like probably half the show, I think.
Fair enough.
But to me, the biggest difference between 2007 2008 is like it's social media is just so powerful.
Yes,
I think. And I mean, look what Disney did. They got rid of James Gunn because of a few tweets due to like peer pressure and stuff. Now you have the entire industry that is vocally like against the studios. You have Biden, you have the entire labor workforce. And it's just like they're not even asking for that much, the writers. There are things that I understand the writers are maybe asking for that the AMPTP is not going to bend on. Right. And we'll get into some of those as well. But I mean, it's a pretty reasonable amount of money and their asks, and I just don't understand. Seeing what I see out, every day from the studios and the largesse and the waste of money that is spent. It's like, are you kidding me? So what are your initial impressions?
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems very clearly as you do more and more research here that the studios planned ahead for this. This is just like, Jeff, you and I are baseball fans. We're sports fans rather, and fans of baseball fans. And we've seen these labor strikes happen in baseball, and owners prepare. Owners think ahead. Owners know, like, okay, This will be good. You even said this last week. Sometimes these studios want these strikes to kind of get rid of projects they didn't really want to get in motion or wanted to toss. It's a good excuse.
Very much what this is.
Yeah. It's like The Godfather, going to the mattresses. We got to get rid of the bad blood every few years or so. And essentially what's going on here. But yeah, you're right. What you see, which was revealed a couple of days ago, the response from the AMPTP was so much less than what the writers were asking for, that the gulf and divide is so much more massive than I think even the most pessimistic speculator could have speculated. I mean, it's massive, the gulf in where they're coming from. So I don't know how they're going to meet. The studios seem entrenched on this idea that AI can't be litigated or legislated by them. They're entrenched on how much they want to pay the writers. They're entrenched on the fact that they don't want to reveal, the streaming services don't want to reveal their viewing numbers and the amount that the writers are asking for. And I thought this was a great comment, I think, from the person who is a negotiating person on the committee from BoJack Horseman. The only people, it looks like, if this thing goes through the way the studios want it to go through, the only people who are going to be able to be writers are the independently wealthy people. And that's not who you want writing your stuff. So it's just very interesting the way they're making it. They want to turn writers essentially into indentured servitude and turn them into a bunch of freelancers that they can just call upon, and they'll have to figure out a way to live while they're writing stuff for the studios. And let me throw in a couple of.
I'm going to turn off my washing machine, John.
Okay. I talked to a couple of my friends who are executives or who have worked as producers or are currently producers, and they give me a window into what the journey is for writers. There are writers who are sometimes selling multiple projects that never see the light of day. So they only make their money off the selling of the actual project. But if the shows don't air, they don't make any money. A lot of writers break through with like their 30th or 20th script or 10th script. It's not boom overnight. It doesn't happen. So it's just a lot of moving pieces to this. And it feels like the studios overwhelmingly are in the wrong position here, but I don't know what it is that's going to spark them to finally kind of meet them somewhat halfway. Am I off base on that, Jeff? Did you feel the same? Are you sensing that too?
Listen, I wrote like 3 columns. And
yes.
I just posted basically one. I cut like half of the column out at the last second to just be like, let's just focus on AI rather than everything else. So let's talk about the column that I just posted. Okay, if you go to abovetheline.com, I just posted something called "The AI Revolution Has Already Reached the Studio's Gates."
Yeah.
And Disney's Bob Iger may be the only person who can stop it.
Wow.
So here's what I have heard and what I've been holding all week is that the studios are already planning to use AI to write scripts.
Yeah.
But they're not scripts from scratch. They are going to be starting with books and IP that is in the public domain. That is the big thing. Things, and I haven't really heard that yet. Mm-hmm. So forgive me if someone else has sort of put that out there, but that is what is already happening. For the last few weeks, lists of public domain titles have been circulating among studio executives.
Wow.
And those are the things that you will start to see AI write, and then they will hire writers after the strike to rewrite those scripts, to touch them, to touch them up, to do all that stuff. Now, maybe writers won't take those jobs. Maybe a writer's going to be like, okay, I'm down to rewrite this script. Who wrote it?
Right.
Chatbot 5000. Fuck that. I'm not taking that job. But there will be people, especially after the strike, who are going to be hungry and desperate to work.
Yeah.
So, that is sort of like the news.
Yeah.
Is that this is already happening. I'm told every studio has already sort of explored those possibilities. And obviously, this is a huge sticking point in these negotiations because the WGA doesn't want AI to be used to create any literary material whatsoever. Right. And if you have been paying attention to headlines over the last few days, AI has really become the defining issue almost of this strike. We know writers want to make money, but what we really want to know is that writers are going to be able to get jobs to make money.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the future of writing as a profession is at stake, as is the future of the entire guild itself. And so, I don't do you believe, John, that AI could ever write a great movie? Because I do not. I don't think that AI is now or ever really will be capable of creating art, right? Like I don't think they could write a movie like The Social Network.
Okay.
And a big part of it, and I think this was in Neil Turritz's column yesterday on my site about Joe Russo, is that it's in the name. It's called artificial intelligence. It's not called intelligence.
Yeah, true. Well, I got to walk into a minefield to answer your question. First of all, I respect writers. I absolutely respect. I love the written word. It's brought so much joy and education and intelligence and tolerance and changed the world for sure. But I've also seen some pretty shittily written movies at greenlit that people go and see and love.
Yes.
And so if you're asking me, can a chat GPT write a movie that people will go see and love? Yes. Do I think they can write The Social Network? Not in this iteration, Jeff. But remember, this is ground level AI. Okay. This is going to get multiple versions. It's going to get better. It's going to get smarter. Because as you said, intelligence is also in the name. Therefore, it's able to adapt and improvise at much quicker levels than a human being. So I think it can achieve that level where it will write a script correlative to Aaron Sorkin or anybody else because it can quantify that kind of experience, figure it out, and put it together. As I said, this is just the beginning. And as we've seen with multiple iterations, I mean, it's the way it works in life. The more you work at it or the more attempts you get at something, you get better at something if you're remotely intelligent. So why wouldn't artificial intelligence do the same thing? So, and I think that's what the studios are banking on. I think the studios are playing the long game here, and they know we're going to make more money the less humans are involved. What's that line in The Player? If I could just get rid of the writers, we would be making so much money. Yeah. So
yeah, and listen, that's not right. And maybe, but like, you know,
no, I agree. I'm not supporting it.
Right. AI needs prompts though. So like, are writers going to be the one to feed the AI these prompts, or is that going to be a job of executives? Like, I think that AI, because I've also, you know, spoken to people on the studio side and supporters of AI in general who believe like this doesn't have to be an either or, like, you know, they can complement each other and that AI can be used as a tool, right? You can identify things that fans want to see and say to like basically tell a writer, you should be writing this. Right. You know, so I think that there are uses to it. It's like any new technology that's disruptive. It's scary, but it's all about how you use it.
Right. I see some people getting upset. I want to address this in the chat. I'm not saying that that's what is going to, I'm telling you what the studios are thinking. I'm not saying I support it. So calm down. I'm not saying this is a take that's actually my personal take. I'm saying the studios are thinking this way about AI. So it's going to happen. And as Jeff said, the feeding in, you think they can't find some fucking writer intern? You think they can't find some non-union writer who just wants to get successful and be willing to prompt and all this? There are plenty of writers who can't get into the WGA who are excellent writers. They just don't get the opportunities. Just like there are plenty of actors who are not SAG and they're great, but they don't get the opportunities. Okay, just because you're in a union doesn't mean you're great.
They're also bad writers. I mean,
there are. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's like kind of the funny thing in all this is like I've never ever heard a writer say I wrote a bad script. It's always you know, oh, the script was great and then I got on set and you know, I watched them ruin it. Like I've never ever heard a writer take responsibility. And again, 100% with the writers here, but I've never heard a writer say I wrote a bad script.
Well, because it doesn't behoove them to say that. It doesn't behoove them to say that.
Of course.
But you've seen an actor say I was in a shitty movie or I was in a crap movie.
What you just alluded to with people getting snippy and you know, saying relax. Writers are very sensitive right now.
Yes.
Very sensitive. You have to be very careful. I mean, holy shit. And I you know, we've done you know, the Schmodown with Drew McWeeny. I love Drew McWeeny. I wrote something the other day about, oh well, you know, like I bet the strike isn't going to be 100 days. Like, is there a pool I can get in on? You know, he came at me on Twitter. He unleashed the floodgates with other people teeing off on me, and you know, him and I addressed, you know, had some DMs and we spoke privately, but it's like they're touchy. Like just
Drew loves the battle.
Betting on the fucking. There's no betting pool. Nobody. I get it. Like, I'm not betting on with people's livelihoods and humanity. Nobody's been fired more than fucking me. Okay. And by the way, and as Drew knows better than anybody, you think fucking writers in this town have it bad. We have it the worst.
Oh yeah.
And there's nobody looking out for the bloggers, for the folks at Collider who lose their job, let alone, even at the trades.
Yeah.
There's no protections whatsoever.
No.
I'm one of the industry's top reporters, I think. Haven't had health insurance in a decade. I'm not out here I'm not saying that the writers are doing a cry for me thing. I'm just saying I'm out there. I'm up at 3 a.m. covering the strike. We're out on the picket lines too with you guys. Like, everybody ease up. Okay. But we also, as a job, we have to play devil's advocate.
Yes. This is the show.
Is where we have to say AI could actually be useful.
It's not the feel-good mic. It's not the stroke your hair mic. It's called the hot mic, which means we're going to talk about shit that some people don't want to talk about. We're going to tell some truths you may not want to hear. Welcome to Here Comes Some Medicine. Take it in your mouth and swallow it down. We're telling you what all the angles of this and what the possibilities are. Because I talked to a critic yesterday, Jeff, and she thinks it might stretch into next year. I'm talking like June or July of next year, that the studios don't feel the imperative to come to the table because they've stacked projects. And it doesn't help when people from House of the Dragon come out and say, oh, we're going to shoot because we already finished our scripts, which essentially implies no one's going to improv on the set, which is bullshit. So you see that approach here happening from the studios already. They want to keep their cash cows going, and they've recruited actors and directors to kind of essentially carry the company line. Do you think in the end, though, because the SAG and DGA, their contracts are up in June, there's talk about them striking in advance of June in order to force the studios to come to the table. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think that is a possibility. I think it's really the only way something could get resolved sooner than later is if there is some fucking solidarity in this goddamn town, which, Lord knows that there never is. Right. Everybody's just looking out for themselves, and the DGA basically undercut the WGA last time, and there are concerns that they could do it again.
Right.
But I don't get that vibe after what everybody's been through with this pandemic. I just don't get that things are as cutthroat. Like, it's a much nicer town than it was in 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
That said, you do look at the AMPTP response to those proposals, and it's clear these people had vacations booked.
Yeah.
There are people on vacation right now, and they didn't decide to go on vacation 2 days ago. They decided weeks and months ago when they knew we're not even trying to negotiate right now. We need to shut this industry down because basically of the overspending, because it was like a runaway freight train basically with the spending.
Yeah.
Right. They are using this as an excuse to get rid of. I mean, look at what's happening. There's layoffs all over town. They're using it to get the cull development projects, overall deals they just announced today. If you're a writer producer, we're not paying out that overall deal anymore. You're a writer technically. Right. There are a couple of other things. So, John, I've never been in any group, in any union, anything. You are, though, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're what are you? What are you in?
SAG. Yeah.
Okay, so you're a guild man.
Yeah.
What do you think of what I'm about to say here? So I spoke to somebody who, their father was ran a non-union shop in a very union-heavy town and industry. Oof. Not Hollywood. And then they said that in their home, union was just another word for mafia. And that they were, and IATSE and the unions and a lot of these things, they were initially formed to keep minorities and immigrants out of the business.
Right. In the old
days. IATSE used to be run by Al Capone.
Right.
And when theaters started using non-union projectionists, Capone instructed his men to firebomb theaters.
Right.
I mean, so there's a complicated history, with unions, guilds, and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
When this person says, I was sort of grew up on the idea that union just means mafia, what do you think of that?
Well, I think that's an outdated point of view, but it always depends on the industry, right? I mean, there's nobody doing that now. WGA is not going to show up with a bunch of muscle to make you to beat you up, to force you to sign a contract. There's no fucking Godfather or horse's head or anything like that.
No, exactly. Nobody's throwing tomatoes as I saw.
It's a different situation, but I think the studios have taken a look at this situation. Like, we're going to starve them out till they start crossing the picket lines. And we saw that happen back in 2008, 2007, right? When Ellen DeGeneres she crossed the picket line with her writers. They crossed because she was desperate to stay relevant. She forced the writers to cross the picket line with her. And already somebody has called out Jimmy Fallon on Twitter. As you said, social media is powerful. On Twitter to say, you didn't show up at the meeting. You didn't tell us writers what we're going to get, what we're not going to get. Whereas Seth Meyers showed up, and Seth did speak with everybody and told them what they were going to do, how he was going to support them. And also it's you can already see like there's going to be fractures here in this whole situation with people pointing fingers and going at each other. Unions are there to protect people. They're built because studios were taking advantage of writers and actors and directors. And even now, listen, you may not know this as an actor because you're not an actor, Jeff. A lot of the productions have shifted to non-union. A lot of actors have gone SAG, they've gone FICOR in order to work and take non-union work and also still maintain their SAG status in a suspended status because a lot of productions have gone non-union. That's been happening for a few years to actors. So studios have been caving the support for all the unions for the last 10 to 15 years. So it's no surprise that they approach this in such a callous way. So the unions are desperate to stay relevant, desperate to stay strong, because they're the last force now, or last wall against the studios, completely turning everything back into the way it was when Louis B. Mayer was running fucking studios, man. So that's the thing at the end of the day. I don't see them as strong arm type of unions, but they're trying to protect.
Nor do I. I mean, this is the writers. This is the writers that we're talking about here, guys. But like, I was talking to someone about the other issues. So besides AI, and of course, there's payment, and that should be the easiest thing, honestly, is paying these writers because there is money. Just like as someone who negotiates with studios every day for the last decade, for information, scoops, or even when I was at Variety, like this headline or this photo, it's just a constant negotiation that you can never fucking win. They're impossible to deal with, right? And I don't have the strength of a guild behind me. But one of those other issues that it keeps coming up is the idea of the mandatory writers' room. So I'm told that that's just like a complete non-starter for studios right now. Like, everyone's in cost-cutting mode. They're cutting jobs. They're dropping projects. Development budgets are just being slashed. That's why someone like Adam McKay had a hard time getting that project set up, despite his star-studded cast: Robert Pattinson, Robert Downey Jr., Amy Adams. Netflix only picked it up after passing on it the first time. And it's so I don't think that you can say, well, we need 6 writers on this show, and the exec's like, well, but wait a second, what if it, I know when it's like Mike White wrote all the episodes of The White Lotus. Well, you're telling me there wasn't any writer adding anything else? Like, it was all Mike White. Was it really, or did he just get the credit on all 8? I understand that there are things that writers do that they don't necessarily get credited for, and that aren't necessarily writing, right? It's not all reporting, isn't all just me typing. It's, you have to gather the news, you have to talk to sources, it's other stuff, and writers do that stuff too. But I also understand from a studio perspective being like, how many guys does it take to write the show? We need 4 people. Okay, well then why am I paying for 6? Why are you forcing me to pay for 6? It should be however many it is. If you need 8 writers to write the show, pay 8. If it's 4, they're pushing back on the 6 minimum, because they're like, some shows don't need 6 writers.
But why is it pick and choose? Do you know what I'm saying? You don't need that many executives at a fucking studio. You don't. You don't need that many. That's the thing. If you're going to be executive crying about how many writers you're going to hire, police yourself, police your own people. There are so many surplus executives in this town, just so people can have status, because daddy has connections. I got a job. Some people earn it, certainly, but there are other people who get into it because of their connections, and they get to live the high life, but they want to judge these writers for wanting to have a fucking existence, a fucking life. I mean, one of the writers, and it goes all around. Like, one of the writers tweeted out 2 people from Grownish who laughed at them when they asked them to march with them for an hour when they were going to get their lunch. And that is shit behavior. And one of those people is a fucking Nepo baby. So it's just that kind of idea of how they look at writers as lesser than. It's not right.
Absolutely. There's no question that there's unbelievable bloat on the studio and executives. I mean, even just like you watch any movie and you see, this isn't a studio executive necessarily, but like the list of producers, it's like 30 producers. You don't see 30. I mean, some projects have 30 writers, but it's just and listen, I obviously I came out here to be a writer, right? And part of the reason that I didn't, part of it is that I never really gave it a fair shot. I never really gave the profession a fair chance.
It's a tough profession.
And part of it, I was always afraid to fail and be told, Jeff, you may have gone to the best school, but you actually aren't all that good. The other part of it, though, the other part of it is that as a reporter, I had a front row seat to this industry, and I took a peek behind the curtain, and I saw how writers were treated. And it's like, geez, is that really what I want to do and try to basically win the lottery every year by selling a spec script? Or it's just, it is brutal out there for writers. And it's no longer a sustainable career. And I do think that has to change. Something has to give in these negotiations.
But what do you think is going to happen, Jeff? I mean, the studio seems so entrenched in where they're at. Is this going to be where they just kind of wait until what was
this is the bullshit opera, though? Like, this is like the bullshit. Like, we're not even trying to negotiate with you. Like, so I do think that the tenor will start to change. From what I understand, the break point is 4 months, right? So at 4 months, the studios will start to feel it on their release calendars. Like, they'll have to shift some things around. Like I said with Warner Brothers, as we've been speculating even before this strike, you've got a lot of movies this winter, and Color Purple and Wonka are right there. Like, do you move Wonka to the spring? Because, and movies, it's actually different because that stuff's so far in advance. It's TV that will be affected. That's where you'll really start to feel the WGA stranglehold, because that content will dry up quicker. So it's also about Wall Street. Like, are the investors going to start getting angsty around Q3 and Q4? And will the CEOs be able to suffer the slings and arrows of the internet that much longer?
Well, that's what you've got to, you say you have a front row seat and you see behind the scenes, behind the curtains. Are there studio people that you've spoken to who have given you, and you can't reveal sources obviously, but who have given you a idea or a perception that they're not budging for a very long time? And what is their point of view on this that is making it feel as if they think they're making the right stance here to save the business? Is this just greed influence, or can there be some logic to the studio's point of view on this situation beyond having to staff some rooms with writers, which isn't a negative because you're exposing them to the experience, and they may down the road write an incredible show that you yourself and your studio will benefit from 5 years down the road because you gave them that experience. So I'm just wondering, are you hearing anything from the studio side that you can see some kind of logic to it?
No, I mean, I think that the studios know that their job is to make money and make money for the investors, and that means squeezing as many places as they can, and that includes writers, unfortunately. I mean, I'd heard a story, Amazon, just squeezing and squeezing and squeezing New Zealand, right? For tax rebates for Lord of the Rings. And there was a lot of pushback. And when New Zealand finally agreed to Amazon's terms, Amazon was like, we're good. We're going to go to shoot in Ireland for season 2. And they just left hundreds, if not thousands of New Zealanders disappointed and out of work. Right. Who, people who were sort of counting on those jobs. So I just don't think that these companies really care. Yeah. And the only way to make them care is really these mass unsubscriptions. I mean, have you unsubscribed from anything?
Not right now, because I didn't, I'm still kind of reading what?
Neither have I. And I wonder how many writers in that picket line have, but it's like, that's how you're going to make these studios feel it, basically. And I don't know that, people in Kansas are going to care. And that's the unfortunate thing is like, it's out of, unless you're in New York or LA, these strikes, it's not that they're out of sight, out of mind, because obviously the media is covering them nonstop, but they just don't care.
Yeah, well, people see it as a battle amongst quote unquote the elites. That's what those cultural elites, those people see it. Yeah, Hollywood types. They're battling but without doing the proper legwork of investigating and researching and reading these articles and understanding how much the living wage for a writer has decreased over the years. I think they're asking for a 4% increase, which I think, if I was reading the article correctly, adjusted for financial comparisons here, is like 29% compared to what writers were getting paid back then. So it's just an interesting change that they're asking for. It's not much, but it's enough to just have an existence and pay. You know, people say, "Oh, pay your mortgages. You're lucky to have a house." It's like, it's not that kind of thing, man. Not everyone's living in Beverly Hills in $5 million houses. Some of these writers have to live like 2-3 hours outside of LA just to have a house and be able to function. Why shouldn't they be allowed to live their lives and have a house? This country used to take pride in people buying homes. Now they make it so difficult to attain that you have to step on people in order to make the money to do it.
I don't even dream of home ownership.
Yeah,
it's not
please.
even a dream that I allow myself. It's pretty fucked up. I mean, but it's like, this is the life that we've chosen, the profession that we've chosen. Now it's, it's tough for writers. They're not like visual effects artists. Like, the visual effects artists don't have a guild negotiating on their behalf or whatever. But like, a VFX artist can go from sort of one job to the next and sort of line it up like that. And writers can't do that.
But you say they don't have a union, but we just read those articles about how they're treated because they don't have a union. How they get abused.
Right. No, they desperately want one. They want to be recognized because that will make it easier, to negotiate. Because obviously, visual effects artists may be treated even worse than writers in this town, right? As much support as there is for writers, there's also that, a little bit of an undercurrent of resentment, right? Because crews want to go to work, and I'm just saying, speaking as the editor of Below the Line, that there is that sentiment as well.
But then when Yahtzee strikes, you don't see the writers going, "Guys, get up off your asses. I want to go and write something that you guys are going to be on." Like, we need to start understanding each other instead of fucking drawing these lines in the sand and creating these, I don't know, combative stances in these situations. Because if everybody gets together, the studios can't do shit. You can shut all those all those rich people down immediately. Where are they going to go? And striking the non-union stuff, showing up. That's where the thuggery tactics show up. If everybody comes together and all the guilds, all the unions come together, the studios are going to be forced to use non-union talent. And those leaks are going to come out of where they're shooting. And that's where you'll see protests. That's where you'll see people walking on the sets, yelling during takes. Absolutely. And that's the kind of tactic. Once that starts to go down, that's when you're going to see the old school non-union versus union stuff you were talking about earlier in this episode.
Again, a lot of stuff is like based on celebrity too. I mean, even the trades, like, you see interviews with, here's the guy who like was living on the streets for 4 years in between jobs. You do see those occasional ones, but even the celebrity, like the trade coverage has been focused on celebrity writers. Right? It's, there's Danny Strong on the picket line. By the way, Danny Strong just set up a documentary thing today. It's like, so you're on the picket line, but you're still selling projects to these studios, but it's a docuseries, so it's allowed. Like, there's just a lot of gray going on here. My sources sort of say that once the studios sort of come to an agreement that the streamers who that rumor that I put out there last week about Netflix, which was denied. People are saying, no, we're united and everything. But I've heard that the streamers would actually go along with whatever the studios sort of want, mainly because Netflix is a little bit different because entertainment's their whole business. But Amazon and Apple, that's a rounding error. Entertainment is like a rounding error to Amazon and Apple. And so they're, if the studios want a deal, Amazon and Apple are going to be like, sure.
Yeah, right.
But Netflix, they are the tricky one because they really don't want to share the data.
Yeah. What happens we're seeing SNL go dark. They canceled the Pete Davidson show this weekend. Drew Barrymore came out and said she's not hosting the MTV.
Good for her.
Movie awards. And I think Kieran Culkin and I can't remember who else. I think it was Jennifer Coolidge. They were going to host a show and they cut that as well. We've got Comic-Con on the horizon, Jeff. April, May, June, July. We're not that far away. So do you think that, what's going to happen at Comic-Con? Do people go to Comic-Con? Because I saw Jim Vejvoda ask, should I be promoting these TV shows and these films on my social media? My reviews of them, is that bad? So
should everybody be reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, or should we not be even talking about it? No reviews are in the paper, and so there's less people going to cinemas, and that's how Disney sort of feels it. Like, I don't know what is appropriate. I don't think that is the answer, because as a journalist or a critic or whatever the fuck I am, my responsibility is to you guys. It's to the viewers. It's to the readers. So I can't just say, well, I'm on strike too, I'm not doing the hot mic. I can't not review Guardians 3.
How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah. I just, like, that's my responsibility is to the readers and their
right. And I think the writers appreciate that, I would think, because in reviews, you talk about the writers. In reviews, if you do any damn good review worth its salt, you're talking about the writers or the writer by name to give them credit for what they've created or not created in the film or TV show. So I think it behooves the industry to have reviews overall, because eventually they are going to go back to work.
But think of a non-athlete celebrity. Give me a name.
Say this.
Give me a non-athlete celebrity.
Tom Cruise.
What's Tom Cruise famous for?
Being an actor. Mission Impossible.
Exactly. He's famous for saying words that somebody wrote. That's what he's famous for.
Exactly.
And so if you have people who aren't writing the words anymore, all these celebrities, they're all famous for shit they did a while ago.
Yeah.
If they're not out there delivering fucking lines.
Yeah.
So, I just, I'm not the doom and gloom type, at least right now. I know I said July 4th. That was maybe a little too optimistic, but I don't think that this stretches on into next year, let alone even
Christmas.
No, and let alone even Halloween, Thanksgiving. No, if I'm Hollywood, I want this shit wrapped up by Labor Day, at the latest, at the absolute latest.
Right.
Go into fall festival season where, like, we got everybody back.
I got a horrible feeling this goes till Christmas, but I hope you're right. I hope you're right, and it's Labor Day. But judging from the studio's response, that to me, seeing strikes in sports leagues, when you see what the owners respond with, and it's usually led to long-ass, months-long strikes, I just have a feeling this is going to be a while. Unless the WGA and the SAG unions come down hard, I just don't see this thing going. And the thing is, it's great to see other guilds like the UK WGA.
Saying, don't look to us. Jack Thorne's like, don't come to me.
Yep.
I ain't fucking writing them.
Yep. All these film boards are coming out and telling their writers, do not work for these American studios to cover for the strike, because eventually that's going to come to us, and we don't want that. So you're seeing solidarity across the world from some of these film boards in these countries telling their writers to not write stuff for these American studios as a way of subverting the writer's strike. So that's a good thing. I like that that's a reaction.
I wish the WGA luck in its fight, and I will do everything I can to support it.
There we go. All right, well, let's take a quick break. So we've talked for this for 37 minutes. We have some StreamLabs and Super Chats to get to. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back right after this. All right, Jeff, let's get into some of these StreamLabs and Super Chats as we go through this. Nancy Mallory says, does The Little Mermaid have potential to be successful at the box office, or will the negative public backlash and competition from Fast X hurt its chances?
What? I don't even know what that person's talking about. What? The negative? What?
Oh, yeah, there was a backlash. There's been a backlash against the design of Sebastian the Crab. There's been a backlash against changing the lyrics to the songs. There's been a backlash against the look that Melissa McCarthy has for Ursula. There's been a backlash against Haley Bailey because she's black.
These are all bullshit backlash. None of these are real backlashes.
Okay,
if you're complaining about Halle Bailey, you're a racist. Get over it. If you're complaining about Ursula, I don't know why. I saw the clip that they showed at CinemaCon. Melissa McCarthy looked great. If you're complaining about lyrics being changed in a song, you're a fucking baby, and go rent the original. Go watch. No one's making you watch this new one. Don't watch it.
All right, I'm glad you have the counter of all these claims, but do you think they will affect the box office?
No.
Which is what Nancy's asking.
No,
okay.
I don't.
Okay.
No, I think like the backlash that we're hearing from is from like 5,000 people online. Nobody gets the fuck.
There'll be down votes for sure, but it won't affect the box office. Okay. Tobias says, are you going to watch The Crowded Room with Amanda and Tom Holland on Apple TV Plus?
Going to?
Yeah. Have you watched it already? Oh, okay. Nice. All right. I'll have to catch up with Jeff at some point. Peter Can't Talk Right Now says, sup, fellas? I'm graduating undergrad next week, and I wanted to say the hot mic has helped me get through the senior year, so thanks. Also, Sneider, I saw Tom King saying he stopped writing a DCU project when the strike hit. Any spec on which one that could be? Any news on which script he was writing, Tom King?
No, I don't. But he seemed pretty excited about it. Seemed like it was like some kind of a dream job for him. So
we shall see. All right, Travis Earl saying Bo is a flop, grossing only $6.2 million against a $35 million budget so far. Does Jeff feel vindicated about his quote career killer tweet now? I found that
I'm glad that we're going to clarify this because yes. I do want to clear this up. So let this be known for the record.
Okay.
When I tweeted, "This is a career killer," I should have clarified that and said, I fear that this is a career killer.
There you go.
Advocating this guy should have his career killed and he should never be allowed to direct another movie.
Right.
In my book, he is 3 for 4.
Right.
That's a pretty good percentage. Okay. I can think of a lot of directors who have a worse percentage than that.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked Hereditary. I thought Midsommar was okay. And I'm a big fan of his short film, which I watched recently as well. The Strange Thing About the Johnsons.
Right.
So when I said this is a career killer, that's not me advocating for this guy's career to be killed. But it is I've been down this road before.
Yes.
I've seen movies that are like this, that are just like, what the fuckers?
Yeah.
And I've seen the directors struggle to work again, whether that's David Robert Mitchell, right? Who obviously has been developing stuff and may very well work again, but has not directed anything since Under the Silver Lake.
Yeah.
And Richard Kelly, who has not directed anything since The Box, even though I think Donnie Darko is better than any fucking movie Ari Aster's made.
Yeah.
That's how it goes sometimes. And that's what I was trying to convey when I put that tweet out. I do think it was a true head scratcher, a complete and total waste of money that they were never, ever going to recoup on, no matter if they figured out how to sell it.
Yeah. I think they were hoping for award stuff, especially with Joaquin involved.
I don't think so.
In the aspect of it. Oh, maybe. All right, fine. I think it's an art film and they were hoping for award stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to get at, but maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't know what fucking awards they thought they were going to win with that hunk of shit. Dude, that movie. And it's been so funny watching people like scramble and grasp at straws to try to make sense of it. And it's basically all their analysis is just like, I'm so smart for getting this movie.
Yeah.
So
I love those people.
There are people who are like, this movie is hilarious. I'll tell you, the people who think this movie is hilarious think that A Serious Man, the Coen Brothers movie, was also hilarious. This is a laugh quietly to yourself movie.
Yeah.
Okay, I will give you that it obviously has a sense of humor, a very Jewish, like dark sense of humor to it too.
Okay.
But like anyone who thinks that was calling Beau is Afraid hilarious, what's Knocked Up? What is Super Bad if Beau is Afraid is hilarious?
It's a gut buster.
It's basically devaluation of our entire language.
There you go. I have 2 fly cams. Says, hello, fellas. Both of you are killing it lately. Thank you. I just want to ask, why is Lucasfilm diving back into Star Wars with Rey? I don't hate Rey at all as a character, but her movies are not successful. Rise of Skywalker made $1.2 billion in revenue, but actually didn't turn a profit, by the way. Cheers. Yeah, Jeff, why bring Daisy Ridley back? Why bring Rey back, considering how the sequel trilogy is viewed now currently by most Star Wars fans? It may get reappraised like the prequels.
Can you bring back Harrison Ford? Can you bring back Carrie Fisher? Can you bring back Mark Hamill?
But those are more beloved characters with legacy. I don't mean Rey isn't beloved, but like with history and legacy.
I'm just saying, like, who are you going to bring back? Like, there's no one left to bring back.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Like John Boyega doesn't, from what I understand, doesn't want to come back. Adam Driver fucking ain't walking through that door anytime soon. Harrison's done. Mark's done. Carrie's dead. Like, who's coming back?
Yeah.
So they really kind of had, it's not that they had no choice, but I feel like she's kind of just the one that made sense. And her career also, even though it hasn't stalled, hasn't really taken off. So it makes sense that she'd want to come back.
Right on. I am 2 fly cam. I don't know where you're getting that Rise of Skywalker didn't turn a profit. It turned a profit. I don't know where you're getting that. Doug Develler says, hi, guys. Should studios stop actors from telling audiences that it's their final time in the role before the film is released? For example, I had fully expected what would happen to Wolverine and Bond, and now I expect the same for Drax and Guardians. do you expect the same for Harrison Ford?
I'm seeing it at 4 o'clock, so I'm definitely not having a conversation about which characters live and die in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 right now. That's not happening.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and Harrison Ford. Do I think he'll die?
Yeah. Like, I don't think so.
No.
I think it's a good marketing tool. You use whatever you can to get people in the studios. You tell them it's your last time doing a role, you go see them. You know what I'm saying? It's,
right.
Yeah.
It's the same reason I, for the first time ever, thought about going to see Aerosmith. Like, we just announced that tour. I was like, oh shit, should we go?
The one place it hasn't worked for me is the McRib. I don't care if they bring it back or never bring it back. I am never going to buy a rib sandwich from a fast food place, for fuck's sake. All right, let's hit some of these super chats. Cody Hunt says, the history of America is a history of exploiting the working class. I myself am a steward, Teamster Local 696. Everyone deserves to have a livable wage. Absolutely.
Absolutely. The problem also that the studios are up against is that a livable wage is different here. Right? A livable wage
in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Is fucking nuts. It ain't minimum wage.
Yeah. It ain't 60 grand.
Paid minimum wage, obviously. I'm certainly not advocating for that.
Right.
But, a livable wage here is different.
Yeah. 100%. Mike Joyce says every other union in the industry should refuse to work on a movie with an AI script. Good luck. But good luck.
People gotta work. That's like, here's the other thing that I forgot to mention. You used the word surplus at one point, didn't you?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This industry is built upon a mountain of scripts, right? A literal mountain of unproduced screenplays that they have bought and that are sitting there.
Yeah.
If this industry wanted to, they could say, we're not buying anything. We'll sign whatever deal you want. We're not going to hire a writer this year or next year because we have 18,000 scripts in the fucking back room.
Yeah.
So you think about all those trade announcements that came out in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, just like 50 years of projects that have been announced and written that someone has paid for that are just collecting dust. So you got to be careful there as writers too. I mean, obviously there are people who want fresh material with fresh themes, and a lot of those scripts in the vault didn't get made for a reason. And if they pull them out now, they'd need a rewrite as well.
Yeah.
Right? But like, guys. I could think of 20 movies right now I'd love to see that you don't need to pay anybody to go write because they're already written.
Yeah, fair point. Wiley Todd says, sending in support, can't go to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 tonight because of the weather. F Oklahoma. Oh, I'm sorry, bud. I hope it gets better there. Yeah, Oklahoma's crazy, man. Lord of Darkness says, hey, Rocha, currently reading that some striking WGA members are blaming Jenna Ortega's comments from earlier this year. He said he read this in the Hollywood Reporter. Is this true? I don't even know about this, Jeff. Is this just to follow up on my super from before? I'm reading it on the Hollywood Reporter. Is this? I don't even know. What are the comments that Jenna Ortega said?
Blaming Jenna Ortega for a strike. I mean, it's not like the studios were like, oh, Jenna Ortega. We could just hire Jenna Ortega. We don't even need writing. Jenna Ortega, she pointed it out. We don't even need him. No, I don't think that she is responsible. I think that they're just having a lot of fun at Jenna Ortega's expense. And the media has picked up on, great signs. They go viral, they get some attention. And it's, you can put Jenna Ortega in one, get a laugh.
Look, I mean, she's a strong, opinionated Latina lady, a young girl, but certainly someone who's very, very talented. So she's going to speak her mind. Sometimes it's going to blow up in your face. Welcome to the real world.
Like I said, though, what did I say before? Writers, no responsibility ever for writing a bad script. Maybe it actually sucked, and Jenna was like, what the fuck is this?
I mean, I don't agree that she did that, but whatever.
You didn't read it. I'm just saying. I didn't fucking read the script.
Yeah. I just know actors love to use writers and to elevate themselves and say, "Oh, I took a look at this and rewrote it because it wasn't good." John Spiliotopoulos says, "Hi guys, don't know if this is a stupid question, but does this affect comic book writers?" No, unless they're writing scripts of their comics to be adapted into live action film or animated.
I don't think it does affect comics, and I don't think it affects novels either. That's why I don't know if it was Roy Price or Ted Hope or one of those guys, but they were like, that sound you hear is just like the start of 10,000 novels being started.
Star Dazing wants to know, on average, how much do writers for TV/films make? It's a really tough.
Right. Because, I mean, yeah, there are certain guild minimums. It depends what the movie is, like what the budget of the movie is, and that kind of stuff. Is it's a studio movie, an independent movie?
Yeah.
I think in TV though, like what is it? A staff writer, the minimum is like $4,000 a week, right?
Yeah,
It's a lot of money, right? Don't get me wrong, $4,000 a week is a lot of money, but you're not making that $4,000 for 52 weeks a year,
right?
You're only making it for 12 weeks, and maybe now it's only 8 weeks, right? Because the shows that you're getting hired on are shorter and shorter and shorter. The episode counts are shrinking. That's the whole problem, because you can't just go and get a job, like an everyday sort of job in between your writing gigs. Like, you know, it's
a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot when you break it on down and take a look at everything and see how much they're making, because it's also not consistent, right? Because you've still got to get staff. You're not paid salary and then you're like working on all these shows. That's not how it usually works. You're working on one show and then hoping you book the next show. That's the jobs in this town for most of them. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, as of April 2023, the current average income for Hollywood writers is about $69,510. Now, you look at what it costs to live in Los Angeles, and $69,000 is not going to go far like it is in Oklahoma or somewhere else where the cost of living is not that high. So you can say $70,000, that's a lot of money, but not in Los Angeles it isn't. So there's the difference. Yeah. JMB says, total tangent, but we'll just watch the infamous Jane Fonda MTS, and I'm hotter than this mic. You were wrong, Sneider. Still love you both, and thanks. Yeah, damn right. I said Jane Fonda. No one else said Jane Fonda, and I attempted to write it, so I should have gotten the points. But this sneaky SOB relied on his friendship with Christian Harloff to screw me.
Guys, put that in a quote. I said Jane Fonda and attempted to write it.
I did.
Didn't write it. I attempted to write it.
Quickly with 1 second left on the clock. But I said it, and none of the guys said it. Dan the Man says, no one should be treated like they're beneath anyone. Pay people what they're worth. If you have a new idea like an AI generated writer, then give it life. I don't know what that means. Okay, fair enough, Dan. Yeah, I agree. Everyone should be paid what they're worth, but the AI stuff.
A different idea and inflated concepts of what they're worth as well. But I mean, everybody should be able to make a livable wage. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to Fantastic Four. That's all the StreamLabs Super Chats for now. Well, first, we got 639 of you watching us right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Please hit a like on this button. Please hit a like on this video and subscribe to the channel down below. Trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Do it and hit that bell button. Some of you in the comments were like, why did you tell us it was noon? This is why you hit the bell button, because when I put a episode up, it sends you a ding and it says, this is the time when we're changing a time. So that's how you know when an episode is coming from the hot mic. Subscribe and hit that bell button. All right, Jeff, Fantastic Four. A lot of people saying this is a done deal. Seeing Grace Randolph, other industry insiders talking about how this might be a done deal with Adam Driver, with Margot Robbie, with Paul Mescal. I saw Mila Kunis pushing back on she might be the thing. What are you hearing? What are your thoughts? What's real? What isn't real? What do you know? What can you say?
I think we're seeing a lot of fucking grasping at straws and just like bullshit, really. I mean, listen.
Some people are saying it's done. It's a done deal. Just waiting for people to sign the dotted line. Do you think this is true or bullshit?
I don't know what to fucking believe, man. All I know is like I've been pretty straight with you guys about what I've heard and what I haven't heard. So like I never heard Paul Mescal. I mean, I just didn't really make sense to me. Again, if let's just say if it is Adam Driver and Margot Robbie, and if the thing is going to be Jewish, then we're not going to get 4 white people. So like then like wouldn't Human Torch almost have to be a person of color? So I just never really bought the Paul Mescal stuff. Even Margot Robbie, like
I believe that way less. The Margot Robbie seems way less improbable.
Yeah, like I wouldn't. So here's the thing: I wouldn't report on an offer to Margot Robbie because she gets offered everything. Like that's like reporting on an offer to Leo or Brad Pitt. Like they're offered 300 fucking things a year, guys. Like I don't know what you want me to say. So I would just be very skeptical. Is that really the career that Margot Robbie wants to build for herself? Is go from I'm Harley Quinn and now I'm Sue Storm and I'm Barbie. It's just like, don't you want to fucking get back to acting and being fucking Tanya Harding? Like that was your best performance. Like,
I agree.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I worry about these actors who want to just fucking wear capes and tights their whole fucking career.
Yeah, this is according to Daniel Richtman over here from Joe Blow, saying that huh?
Are you bringing up the Daveed Diggs thing?
No, yes. And then you mentioned the Antonio Banderas as Galactus thing last week as a much more than a possibility. Judging from your face and my interpretation. But yeah, Paul Mescal as Johnny Storm, Margot Robbie Sue Storm, Adam Driver as Reed Richards, but no mention of who might be the Thing. And a lot of people thought it was Mila Kunis because she had lunch with Max Shackman at a deli, and they were like, "You must know, you must be the Thing," and whatever. So it's kind of crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if none of those people are the people they chose, and this is all just smokescreen that they're leaking to the Scoops people so they can.
I had a reporter from a major paper reach out to me this week about a potential interview about that very topic, and I was like, I actually haven't gone on the phone with him, but I'm going to say no. Like, in my experience, Disney doesn't play that fucking game. Disney's out there seeding rumors to distract from the writers' strike or some other bullshit. I don't think that they do that. Or they at least haven't with me. I don't know who Daniel's sources are. I think it's just a matter of like agency grids coming out and people getting their hands on them and looking at the fucking list and not actually making calls necessarily. Which is why it just seems to change from day to day because a new agency grid has come out.
We've heard for Sue Storm, we've heard everyone from Margot Robbie to Jeff mentioning Jodie Comer to people mentioning Kirsten Bell, which I think would have been a real
awful. Like how does that pass somebody's smell test? By the way, when I heard that rumor yesterday, I was like, "What? That's a real thing that somebody believed?"
Yeah, I mean, I like Kristen Bell. I always think she's fantastic, but she's not going to sell you Fantastic Four. She's not going to sell you, man. I mean, Jodie Comer is a burgeoning movie star. Margot Robbie's an actual movie star. Kristen Bell has been in movies, don't get me wrong, but she's a movie star, she's a TV star.
An unbelievable rumor.
Yeah, it's kind of weird for me.
Yeah,
so
fell out of my head. But let's talk about the Diggs thing because that is a positive. That's the only way I kind of see Torch being a white guy is if Daveed Diggs winds up as fucking Thing, right? And he is Jewish, or half Jewish or whatever. I don't know if it's full or half or whatever, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, well, you kill two birds with one stone because remember, if you're going to go with an all-white cast and have Daveed Diggs, what's that?
That won't happen.
Okay, well, Daveed Diggs won't happen, is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying it won't be an all-white cast.
Oh, okay. But I'm saying if you have Daveed Diggs to balance three other white actors in Fantastic Four, that could work because you check the Jewish box, you check the African-American box or the black box, but Ben Grimm has had always a testy relationship with Reed Richards. So you can explore that a little bit more along racial lines as well. Hey, you've been a pampered, rich white guy all your life or whatever. This is a different approach. I'm trying to show you a different way. So it could be a very interesting dynamic to throw into the Fantastic Four. Although we did have Michael B. Jordan, that really wasn't explored in that version from Josh Trank. So it could be an interesting way to go if they want to be Diggs. I like that possibility.
I know that I see Marvel exploring a ton of racial stuff in the Fantastic Four.
Okay. Well, I don't know. They said they're going to be more diverse. We shall see. Yeah. All right. What else do you want to? Any final words on this before we move on to Fantastic? Do you think we're a while away, or do you think we're around the corner from announcement, or does the WGA strike now put that on hold?
What on Fantastic Four?
Announcing a Fantastic Four.
I mean, a lot of these Marvel projects, right, just got rewriters, as we spoke about last week, right?
Yes.
So it's all about did they turn in their drafts? At the stroke of midnight or whatever, or were they like, I wasn't exactly done and now it's pencils down and now those rewrites won't be finished for months. Could we see the entire calendar? That I don't know. Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. What else do you want to jump into? We're at the hour mark, but have you got a few extra minutes? Because we only hit 2 or 3 topics on the show.
Yeah, I know. I mean, with the Star Wars stuff, obviously, I've been getting a lot of Google alerts about,
Happy May the 4th, everybody. Yeah,
right,
so.
right. I figured I should put something out there
Yes.
about that. I mean, it sounds like, and this is again no surprise. It sounds like Lakeith was the guy who had come attached to that Lindelof thing, right?
Wow.
And that's not me reporting it. That's just other people. It seems like saying that. Let me just see one thing if there's anything for Star Wars. There's not too much going on the Star Wars front right now.
Okay, so this is an interesting point from Michael Terrell Ford. Do you think that they would do the announcement to drown out any Jonathan Majors situations? Is that like kind of move people away from that? We've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming out, which is we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But like, do you think that might be a way to kind of quell some of the anger around the Jonathan Majors situation?
Hold on.
Okay.
I did realize something.
Okay.
So hold on to that question.
Okay.
Before we transition from Star Wars in honor of May the 4th.
Yes.
Here's something that will get some pickup, I realize.
Ooh, okay, all right.
Because again, I don't even know what the fuck we're talking. I don't even know what we're talking about, guys. There's apparently a show called Star Wars Visions.
Yes, it's out today.
Oh, is it?
Volume 2. Yes.
Volume 2, huh?
Yeah, I just watched it this morning.
I told you that Volume 3 is already in the works.
Wow. Are you saying you're hearing that?
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's great because I'll give you my mini quick review. Watched all of them this morning. Season 2, much more consistently better than season 1. Season 1 was great. Had some great spikes and some kind of dips. This one is consistently great from the first one to the last one. So it is a fantastic step forward for this particular branch of the Star Wars content line. So a third one excites me even more because more studios from different countries can get involved, more animation studios to give their points of views on Star Wars. So that's a positive. That's great to hear, Jeff, if that's happening. So yeah.
Yes, that is the word on the street.
I like it. All right. We've got Pedro Pascal in talks for Gladiator 2. What do you hear about that? Is that done? What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's done. I mean, what a cast he's assembled. Ridley Scott, right?
Yeah, to put that all together, it looks like a good cast. I like having a little balance with Pedro in there as well, so I'm a fan of that overall. What else have we got here? Taika Waititi. We got to talk about this, man. Cliffhanger sequel. Are you kidding me, Jeff? Are you kidding me? That first movie wasn't even that good. Why are we getting a sequel all these years later to Cliffhanger? For God's sakes.
They've been trying to do this for a while, right? Anna Lily Amirpour was going to do it. Now she's just a producer on it. I mean, I think it's great, and I really like Rick Romanois. He's kind of one of like my low key favorite like B movie action directors, if you will.
Okay.
So I like the idea of him going back to the mountains.
75 years old to be up there in those mountains. I don't know, man. It seems dangerous to me on so many levels. But
you can't do Rocky, right? I mean,
yeah.
Like what else is he supposed to revisit? Fucking Judge Dredd? Like,
yeah, that's fair. Oh, you're not doing Judge Dredd, for God's sake.
Demolition Man? Like this is the one. I can totally see it. You give him like a young guy up there or a young woman, right? Like it was supposed to be, I think, originally.
Yeah.
I could see that being a fun, B movie action movie.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm sorry, Haunted. 70-year-olds can hang from rocks. Don't be an ageist. I apologize. I just don't want Grudge Match all over again because that was a horrific movie to watch between Stallone and De Niro. What about the other part of this, Jeff, or the other news here with Dune 2? Did you take a look at the trailer? What did you think of this first official trailer that dropped yesterday? Did it excite you? What did you think of this?
I basically said, last week when I gave the CinemaCon recap, I thought that this did look better than the first movie.
Okay.
Mainly, maybe it's because I know the characters now a
Mhm.
little bit. I know what the fuck is going on a little bit, anyways.
Yeah.
But it's also just a really great sequence that I think that they chose to highlight with him, actually catching a ride on the sandworm and everything.
That
And
was
everybody,
awesome.
yeah, like
Mhm.
and Timmy seems to have grown into it a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it looks better than the first movie.
Okay. All right.
And I'm excited to see it in the theater because I watched the first one, at home and like probably dozed off a couple
Right.
times.
This just dropped 5 minutes ago on Deadline. Thoughts on this? Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power to remain in production in the UK during the writer's strike, along with House of the Dragon. So, what do you think about that, Jeff? Do you think this is, are we going to start to hear this more and more from productions that are out of the country?
Yes.
Wow.
100%. Yeah, because the crews there are not under the U.S.
Mhm.
jurisdiction, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so
19 days of,
I do think that a lot of productions could end up going overseas for that very reason.
oh, wow. Wow. The non-writing executive producers, directors, and crew will oversee and complete the wrap, which is 19 days from being finished filming. So, interesting. Okay, all right, fine. Let's see what else we got here to hit real quick. Zoe D, Juror 2. What is that? What, Zoe Deschanel's in Juror number 2. What is this?
Oh, Zoey Deutch joined Clint Eastwood's Juror number 2. I like Zoey Deutch as an actress. That's why I mentioned it.
Fair enough.
Hold on. Let's see. What did we put?
Reitman's SNL movie. What do you want to say on
Right,
that?
I mean, it's not much I need to say about it. I just think it sounded like a cool project to me. I like. It's nice to see him get back to those kinds of movies. Josh Gad went on Twitter and said he'd read the script and that it was excellent. So I just like the idea of a movie about that very first night at SNL.
Oh wow, yeah.
Where they said live from New York. Even Paul Mescal and Jesse Buckley, like two great young actors right now, teaming up on Hamnet, which is going to be what Chloe Zhao's next thing. Is that?
Yeah. That's a good combo.
Yeah, man.
I will say, I recommend, if you guys haven't read the Live from New York
the book,
it is, if you're an SNL fan, if you're a writing fan, if you're a comedy fan, it is a must read, an absolute must read. All told first person from the people who were there, interviews with them. It's a fast read. It's a great read. And every once in a while I'll pick up and watch and read a few pages because it's such a great fucking read, man. So
good bathroom book. All those books are, whether it's the ESPN book, the CAA book.
God, yeah. I haven't read the
CAA book. The HBO book is also great too. All from the same guy.
Taika Waititi got a new movie. Clara and the Sun. What do you think about this?
I mean, it sounded like it was kind of in line with his sensibility.
Yeah.
Am I surprised that he's doing a movie before Star Wars? No.
Okay.
But I'm even a little bit more surprised that he keeps reiterating his commitment to Star Wars next year.
Yeah.
In that story, Deadline said he's still planning to shoot Star Wars next year, which seems like it would be kind of like a tight turnaround. But
I think nothing.
He may work fast.
I don't think you can lock anything down until this writer strike is done, right? Because I mean, he's a writer, so
right, exactly. Everybody's schedule is going to be, basically thrown out the window.
Yeah. Jamie Foxx, anything to say on this? Finally breaking his silence on what happened.
What was it? What did happen? I don't even
the rumors I hear is a stroke. And he said, "I appreciate all the love, feeling blessed." And they keep calling it a medical complication, but from a couple of people that I know, I've heard that it's a stroke. So I don't know if that's, don't quote me like this is officially the reason. No.
Right. Jamie Foxx had a stroke. No. Well, I mean, if he did, that's terrible. I'm glad that he is okay and on the road to recovery. I mean, I think Jamie Foxx is one of the most talented people on this planet. I mean, he can act, he can sing, he's hilarious. Like, he can kind of do everything. So
why do you think they're calling it a medical complication instead of coming out and saying what it is? What do you think would be the?
Because I think if it is a stroke, then they're sadly producers and executives who'd be like, oh, maybe we were thinking of Jamie, but now he's had a stroke. We got to let him get better. They just won't think of him. And they stop getting jobs. That's why all these stars are really protective with their health. Look at Bruce Willis.
Yeah, fair point. By the way, for those of you who want to follow up on our conversation about the writers' strike, the AMPTP just dropped a 4-page counter to everything the writers are saying and explaining their points of views on the hiring quota, on the gig economy, and the idea of a one-size-fits-all type thing. So they're pushing back on it and on the AI stuff. So if you want to read more about that, you can. And so there we go. So there's a lot of information out there for y'all to consume about it from both sides of the situation. So, should we jump to Guardians of the Galaxy real quick? What do you want to say, or what do you want to do?
Before you do Guardians, I did want to pass along the things that the Ankler broke today.
Please go ahead.
Story about Peter Rice, who's obviously the longtime Fox and Disney executive who they got let go kind of unceremoniously.
Yes,
the Ankler saying that he's putting. No, by Chapek.
Oh, sorry, Chapek, Bob Chapek, right?
He was putting together his own mini major, right? He's talking to investors the same way that Affleck and Damon did, right? And you'll really only get access to those investors when you have a real track record and history and respect in this town. So just as I broke the Affleck and Damon artist first story, or whatever, the artist equity story, Ankler is also reporting Peter Rice is putting together his own mini major that would compete directly with A24. And basically try to do those movies that show some good taste, like Harvey Weinstein and Scott Rudin used to do. Obviously, they're both pieces of shit, but they both had good taste in material. And Peter Rice has impeccable relationships, and so expect more details after the strike. But we could very well have a new studio on our hands.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, it could be interesting. Any final thoughts?
He won't be a piece of crap and underpay writers.
Yeah. What a novel concept. Certainly Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, with the way they're doing their
they're sharing their
it could be interesting to explore to see how that does. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Streamlab came through here from Not You, says my hot take on Fantastic Four. Please, Marvel, forget about diversity casting for the sake of it and just make a good adaptation that has no other agendas than building the next part of the MCU. But why? I mean, I don't understand that. Just focusing on diversity is not a bad thing. I don't know why that became a bad thing in people's fucking minds. There are plenty of shitty fucking movies and shitty fucking TV shows with white people in the leads and in all the roles. So they cast those people because in their minds, that's how they saw the world. So they cast them. It was not every time they cast them, they were the best actor. They just happened to be fucking white. Come on, people, grow the fuck up and be adults here. To focus on diversity, to balance it out a little bit. And Jeff can counter me on any of these points if he feels like it. But to focus on diversity is not a bad thing. You're trying to find the best actors. And if you want to put people in to represent it, we're just talking about Star Wars Visions Volume 2. That is full of diversity, and it's great to see, okay? Yes, you want the best actors, but you also want to be able to show the actual world as it actually fucking exists. That's what diversity is all about, for fuck's sake. It's not like we're going to give a shitty black actor or Latino actor the job over an incredibly talented white person. I mean, it's fucking stupid. That's not what the point is.
Diversity is good for business, and again, there's just no way that a major studio in this day and age is doing a big superhero team up with all white people. That's just not realistic.
It's not realistic in life unless you're a fucking white supremacist. Let's see here. Tracer Fire says, do you guys think Love and Thunder's reception has had an impact on Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie, and that's why it wasn't mentioned at Star Wars Celebration? Maybe. Jeff?
No, that sounds like a fanboy conspiracy theory to me. No, I suspect it's just because it's not, either one of the next three or in their immediate plans, or they just don't know what Taika's schedule is like. I mean, or maybe they just didn't think it was like news. I don't know, but I don't think that they're sitting there being like, oh, people didn't like Love and Thunder. We got to keep this Taika Waititi project under wraps.
We'll see. All right. So anything else, or can I jump in real quick?
You wanted to talk about Guardians, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So
don't spoil anything because I'm seeing it in 2 hours.
I'm not. It come out this weekend. Y'all should go see it. Absolutely. I think it's a fantastic end to the entire story that James Gunn was telling. You will have time with every one of these characters, really enjoy and savor these characters and the journeys he puts them on. And I think the way he resolves things. And then, by the way, this is some of the best acting Chris Pratt has done in the entire trilogy of these Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and Karen Gillan as well. She's fantastic. I said this before. I know Jeff doesn't agree, but I said this before. I thought she should have been nominated for Endgame for Best Supporting Actress. I love what she's able to bring to that character, and she does it again. The Rocket stuff is going to break your heart. All the other stuff we get with the other characters, and of course, the High Evolutionary. So great to see him after enjoying his work on Peacemaker, and great to see what his character is like here in this movie and what he represents. Look for the symbolism. It is there, people. Look for it, and I appreciate that overall from James Gunn. Does all the comedy work? No. Do all the storylines come to a perfectly satisfying conclusion? I don't think so, but overall, it hits the mark, and that's what you want from a final chapter in the trilogy of these characters, so to speak. So that's my overall non-spoiler.
People are reading my face right now. They're saying that I'm. We'll see, Rocha. We'll see. I swear I haven't even been listening to this, man. I'm trying to just tune out so I can just enjoy it and go and play.
All right, we should get out of here. Jeff, thanks again. A lot of fun with you, man. Every week doing the show. We appreciate it. Let people know where they can find you, everything going on, brother man.
AboveTheLine.com and below the line and BTLnews.com. More of it to come, and we'll see about LA Mag.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's right. All right. Yes. As for me, you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Tomorrow, we'll be doing 2 live shows on The Outlaw Nation. The Geek Buddies at 10 a.m. PT, talking all the big news from the week, and our spoiler review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And then later on in the day at 4 p.m. PT is the Jedi Way. We're going to be celebrating everything to do with Star Wars, May the 4th, talking Visions, talking Young Jedi Adventures, and all the big news of Star Wars, including the Russo brothers having been in talks to possibly do a Star Wars film in years past. So a lot to cover for sure. So join us live, both shows tomorrow. All right, y'all take care of yourselves. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new live episode of The Hot Mic. Peace. Did you want to say something?